All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started, and we are recording this, so we'll be able to share the link out for anyone that was not able to make it. So thank you for joining. We're gonna go over today what you can do in your Boberdoo system to get ready for open enrollment. So as many of you already know, open enrollment is going to be starting next week, November 1st. So with that in mind, there are a number of different things within your system that can assist in just making your day-to-day tasks more manageable, which will allow you to then open up other avenues for managing other parts of the system that you maybe would not be able to do if you had to, worry about this influx of new partners and new leads and new volume that's coming through. So one of the first things we would say is, for anyone that's already getting leads sent into them, whether it's regular leads or it's ping post leads, you're going to be expecting an influx of volume. More leads are going to be coming into your system. More leads are generated from every avenue imaginable, from Google to Facebook to affiliate traffic. So with this increase in volume, this can make your leads be, hit your limits, hit your credits, get hit faster. So one of the most important things you are going to want to do is make sure your lead limits are set appropriately. So just a quick overview: when you go to any partner account in your system, or client or agent, whoever's receiving these leads, under each of their accounts, there is a specific lead limit settings tab. So right now I'm under this specific tester partner. So here I can see the total limits for the entire account, how many leads they can get daily, weekly, monthly. We also now have a new option for hourly limits as well. So if you're looking to limit that volume per hour as a further metric, we can add that to your system, no problem. So here we have the limits that apply to the entire account, and then we can further segment the limits broken down by individual lead type. So maybe you want to set the entire account, they only can get 75 leads total, but you don't want them to get more than 50 health leads, and then that would obviously limit then the other ones. So it's a hierarchy setup. So if they got 75 home improvement leads and 0 health leads, they would still be at their total daily limit and then they wouldn't be able to get any more leads after that. So the total account limit, the lead type limit, and then finally we have the filter set limits, where you can set same thing, daily, weekly, monthly, or hourly, except you can set that at the individual lead filter set level. So that will be one of the first things to check. Make sure that your limits are in check. You may have a client set up that's only getting a few leads per day. You don't want to be limiting your lead selling by putting these caps in place at the buyer level. So when these new and more leads are coming in from your forums or your vendors or your affiliates, they are then allowed to then sell. Also, for our high volume systems, we have added a new pings per minute option that can be set. So that's for very, very high volume ping post. Some systems put in limits on their end, that their server can't be hit more than so many times in a particular minute, and that's where that setting can come in to make sure that you're not overloading the buyer side as well. So it's twofold. You want to limit your buyers. You don't want to limit your buyers, but at the same time, if they can't handle the volume, you want to put these limits in place so that you can still optimize your lead flow. So now we can look at setting up maybe new buyers. Something we would say that is very important is if you have any new buyers that you're wanting to set up, get them over to us as soon as possible. If you need their delivery set up, um, get the ticket in as early as possible so that we can get those set up and live and tested uh, before open enrollment starts. If you look to submit a ticket, on the first at 4 p.m. saying, "Hey, it's open enrollment. I need these 5 deliveries created," the odds of those being able to turn around as quickly as possible, just having it in our hands earlier the better. We'll make sure we can get those up and running for you. So now, still talking about the influx of data. So now that you're going to have all these more leads hitting your system, something very important to consider is this volume, where it's coming from. Who is sending me more leads now? So the best way you can do that is to set up a timed report. So under your reports tab, there's a sub tab for timed reports. Here you can set up any of the existing reports or custom reports you have set up in your system. You can have them automatically sent out to you. Email, we can do FTP as well. But one we would definitely recommend setting up for each of the lead types. And then we also have a new global report, which I'll get to in a second here. But this one especially, incoming ping post API requests by source. So for example, this particular setup, we have it set up to send this report for the period of yesterday. And then when is it sending? It's sending every single day at 4 a.m. Central Time. So what happens then is at 4 a.m. Central Time, this report is sent to this email address for this information's period. So this way, every morning when you get in, you can see, oh, what did I do yesterday? Who is sending me pings? Who is sending me more pings than they've been in the past, and so on. I mentioned that there is now a global one as well. So if you're a client that has a lot of different lead types in your system, we of course can understand that running the same report 20 different times is probably not an optimized setup. So now we have a new global report that can be set up. So I'm just going to run it real quick just to show you what it looks like. If you search for lead type, you can see incoming ping post API request by lead type. So now if I run this, it's going to run it for every single vertical. This is just a dummy system, so there's not going to be any data flowing through it, but just so you can see, broken down by the lead types in your system, how many pings did I do? How many posts did I do? So just at a quick glance, you can get that information into your hands. So you can see that, oh, wow, I really upped my volume and health, but I'm not doing any more volume in another lead type. So then you can then, in turn, run the individual report for that lead type, which breaks it down by source. So if I look for incoming, there's the one I mentioned by lead type that shows all the lead types, but then we have one that breaks it down by source specifically for that lead type as well. So if I run it for yesterday, same thing. It's gonna break it down by source. How many pings did they send? How many posts did they send? This is great then for pinpointing, where you can increase your lead sales. If you see a specific source is sending you 1,000,000 pings and only a handful of posts, you know that there's something that needs to be adjusted for that. Either that's going back to the vendor and discussing with them, why aren't you sending these posts, or going through the lead logs and seeing what these ping responses are returning back. Maybe they're sending or missing a field that needs to be sent that's required on the buyer end. All that information can be seen within the lead log. But this will really help you make sure that you're optimizing all this traffic that's coming through your system. As I mentioned, they can be coming from a ping post affiliate, it can be coming from a form, website, wherever it may be. So not only seeing kind of the raw numbers of total pings, total posts, another great report that we have is the admin leads report. And we recommend this one to be set up as a timed report as well. It's essentially a export of your leads page that shows you, the lead information, um, and everything surrounding that. So not only the internal information of where the lead came from, the cost, the price, uh, information that's not shared with the buyer, the lead information itself, the first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, phone, email, and so on. And then also the sale data of how much it's selling for and the filter set it matched to, and that type of information. So this way you can have your report sent to you same way. You can have it sent every day, every hour, every 3 hours. Those are all different periods that can be selected in this dropdown. So that way you can automatically have this report sent to you, um, at a specific point in the day. Another useful tool that the boberdoo system supports, and we have lots of clients using, is our live transfers. So of course, you're familiar with the ping post setup of getting the leads through the system. However, allowing the live transfer setup allows you to get that lead on the phone with the buyer, and then have that internet lead uh, posted to that matching buyer. So the buyer has the lead on the line, and they have the lead's information that they filled out from the form. So in order to get this set up, you'll have to do a few different things. So of course, the buyer will have to have a lead filter set for both phone calls and for the data lead type. So when you make a inbound phone lead type filter set, the partner ring to is where the phone call will dial out to, how many calls they can get at the same time as the concurrent calls. The rest of this is your basic filter set configuration, where you mark, where they can accept leads from, if they only accept certain times of the day, days of the week, states, zips, and so on. So once they have a filter set set up for phone calls and then also for the internet lead, the flow of how this works is this: the lead would come in, the data lead would come in from the source, okay, and it would hit your system and it would go to manual review. The lead at that point sits on the leads page, and then the phone call comes through, and at that point the system's attempting to match and connect that phone call to a buyer that matches as well. So let's say it matches to the first buyer. The system connects to their phone call. At that point, the system says, okay, find me, the lead with the same phone number that's sitting in that review status. And at that point, it then makes sure to reprocess the lead so that the same buyer that got the phone call is the same buyer that receives the data lead. And that flow is specifically in that order. So if there's a situation where it rings out to buyer one and they don't answer the call, it then rolls back and goes to buyer two. Now we know that buyer two has the call. We then reprocess the internet lead to go to buyer two. Otherwise, you'd have a situation where the lead would go to one buyer and the call would go to a different buyer, which of course that is not what you want to happen. So with the live transfers process, you'd see the phone call in the system. On your leads page, you'd see the lead on the leads page as well, and they'd be matched to the same buyer. And we also have a nice, helpful little icon. Let's see here, where if they're connected to a live transfer lead, it's flagged as such so that you can see in the lead log what lead ID from, for example, the health insurance lead type that lead is associated with as well. So just to kind of recap what we've gone through so far, we went through setting up your limits with your buyers. We went through setting up time reports. We went up through live transfers. Another big step you have to overcome with the health leads, or I should say with any of the insurance leads with the open enrollment, is this, like as I was saying, the influx of the data. So it's more leads to be going through. So the lead logs are very important here for reading and understanding what's happening with your leads. So using the leads page here, I'm entering into secure mode. So something that's very similar to the admin leads report is the leads page export. So similarly, you can get not only the information of the lead itself, but some other information surrounding the lead, logs and ping response prices and information like that. So when you're on your leads page and you click the filter icon, you can then select what you're looking to filter by. So if you're looking for just to export out the information, you can just do something as simple as give me all in the system and then click filter. So now when you filter by something, excuse me, this change fields to send option pops up. Clicking this will give you a pop-up where you can put in your email, and then you can select which fields you want to include in the export. So the standard fields are all the green ones. So these are all your normal lead fields, contact information, any of the information associated with the lead, gender, tobacco user, et cetera, et cetera. The red fields are your internal fields, and these give a little bit more information. So as I mentioned, the lead logs, post responses, ping responses, the ping response prices. So for example, if you have a lead that's sent out to 3 different buyers and one buyer returned back, yes, it's a success, I'm offering $10. Another one says, accepted, I'm offering $7. Another one says, okay, for $2. You would have a semicolon separated box that would show you those 3 prices associated with those 3 buyers. So that's a very helpful box to check when you're looking at logs to see what your buyers are offering for the lead. If you see someone's, just lowering or offering up low dollar amounts each time dynamically, that's something you could then go back to the buyer and say, hey, we noticed that you're only bidding $2 for all these leads. We're seeing these leads win for about an average of $10. In order for you to get leads, you're going to have to significantly increase, your offer that you're willing to pay for that lead. So that's just a quick, helpful export option. Then you can see all that information in bulk. So you'll notice those red fields here. There's about 15 different ones. Now though, you'll notice I had them just filtered by all, matched and unmatched. If you were to filter specifically by a specific partner or agent or client, give me all the leads that match to this account, or give me all the leads that match to anybody in the system. And then when you click filter now, you can see it only shows you the match leads. Now when you click change fields to send, you'll notice that this internal information is much bigger. There's a lot more fields now that can be exported. And these are all corresponding to the matching buyer that the lead sold to. So you can see the matching company name and transaction dates and filter set names and refunds and lead prices. You can still do the other ones that we showed before, but there's some extra ones here that apply specifically to sold leads. So that is another way of getting this information out for then processing and looking through this information to make decisions on which buyers you want to maybe have higher in the priority if you're set up in that regard, or if you have to reach out to any of your buyers to have them, if you see them with a certain bid amount that's not making the cut. That's all information you can gather from a simple report that you can export from the system here. And so another way that we have seen many clients get integrated with is Facebook leads. So Facebook has a lead ads generation platform that they utilize, and they have a great standardized process for converting those Facebook lead ads to submit directly into a Zapier account. And with a Zapier account, then you can simply build a webhook that can then submit those leads directly into your boberdoo system. So we can walk through that process right now. So once you're in Zapier, there's when you create what's called a webhook. So this would be the first step, would be coming from Facebook. And then the second step here is do this. And you'll notice that these are just exactly fields from your regular posting specs that you would see in your system. So for example, if I go to settings and API specs, and I go down to ping post lead. So these, are the same specs you give out to a vendor, or you give them out to your web developer to integrate your form. Same thing, you'll use these exact same specs to then copy and paste this information into Zapier. And that way, the flow goes, Facebook lead ad submits into the Zapier. Zapier has the webhook that then posts it into your lead system here. So right from this section here, you can see where I can copy and pasting the name, the source, put the URL. So whatever the source name that you create, any of the landing page, any of your key value that you grab, that's dynamic based on the user, the lead type. So all those are hard-coded ones, but then you can then map by clicking these buttons the field from Facebook to then map to. So that way when they fill out the first name field, it submits into your first name field. So using something like this can, just increase your volume, get more leads in your system by having more avenues of generation put up in different places. Facebook is obviously a giant social media site, so much traffic is flowing through there every day. We see lots of people getting set up with that lead ads process. Another option is the forms manager. So this is a option in the system where you can get a form created that's already integrated with your boberdoo system. And all you have to do is, once you create it here, copy and paste the little snippet of code that's put out, and as I mentioned, paste that right to your website. So that way, when you go to your website, you see the form there, someone fills it out and clicks submit. It's then posted directly into your boberdoo system with no need of a tech or developer on your end. So to set up that process, we click on the forms manager, we click add form. At the top is just going to be the name of the form. It's for your reference only. You'll collect the source that you want to hard code to submit as the default source value. Same thing as the landing page. Optionally, you can do the sub ID, pub ID that's hard coded. There's more tracking options, which I'll get to in a little bit. You can have an option for setting the CSS style. That's how the form will look. We have these basic ones that come standardized with it. Those are very basic black, gray, green, light, dark type of setups. we do also offer an external one where you can then copy and paste the external CSS file that can be used. And this can be used then to make it so the form matches your layout of your website or page. There's other options for the style as well, and I will follow up with that in just a second. But the rest of these options on this form are just for, if you want to show it mobile optimized, yes or no. Do you want to auto embed the height and width? And then finally, what do you want to happen after they click submit? Do you just want to display a thank you page? Do you want them to redirect to a new page altogether? That's up to you. You can set that here. And we also have options for third-party scripts. So if you want to integrate with Journaya Lead ID, Trusted Form, any other type of third-party on the form itself, that can be copied. That JavaScript code can be copied and pasted into this section here. Lastly, on this page is if you want to have a different text instead of submit, that can be done here. We also then have options for terms and checkboxes, and I agree with the terms. And if you want to have it link out or have any other specific text, that can all be set here as well. So that's just a basic setup of what the form has. Now, if I click next step, we're going to go to the configuration. And the configuration, this is what appears on the form as far as the field names, what the values are that they can select, if you want any help notes associated with a certain field, which fields you want to have hidden or have them shown and displayed. You also have further options for making fields that are not required be required specifically for this form that we're on. So for example, some people elect to, since the system automatically takes a valid zip code and pre-fills in the city and the state, some people elect to just hide. So when it's red, it's hidden. Green means it's shown. Some people elect to hide city and state, so that way the lead only fills out the zip code. Less fields for the lead to fill out, the better. So if you're able to fill out one field and get 3 total fields, that's a win-win. That so no reason to not put that in there. But now let's look into some other fields. Maybe you don't want to say date of birth. You want to say, or you don't want to say DOB. You want to say date of birth, or you want to say birth date, or enter your birthday. You can click edit, form field name. We do have other validation options. If you want to validate something, like this one's going to validate as an actual date selection. We do have others for specific formats and values. So those can be set there. And then field help note will give a little question mark icon, which mouse over will display this help note. But as you can see here, if I click save, it then changes. This is what's form field name. This is what's mapped to, so you know. So some other options here. These are not required. Maybe you don't want to ask them at all. You uncheck them. Maybe you don't want to ask. Let's see. This TCP consent is required. You can make it. You can have it hidden is an option, and then hard-coded to yes. So that means it doesn't have to actually even be filled out. And that way it just submits yes for every single one. So once we decided how we want the fields configured, the next step is setting up the form builder. And this is the order and layout of the actual form itself. So if you wanted to have multiple sections, multiple pages, an example that we see quite often is maybe someone has a first page submit that's only the zip code, and then second page, it then further asks more information. You can then add a page and make that done in any way you want. Otherwise, you can drag and drop the fields however you want them to be done. And then finally, as I mentioned, all it does is it spit out a website code that you can copy and paste and put that on your website. So now I go here. When I click on the Forms Manager, I can see, okay, here's the form. I can see how many leads have been submitted through that form specifically. At any time, I can change the form's layout or configuration, or I can view the form to see what it looks like. This is, not a good example is that, the other one has the auto embed for the height and width, which makes it look obviously a lot nicer. That's just a quick link just to show you what it looks like. And then there's also the copy button. So if you want to make an exact copy and then just maybe tweak a few things, that's possible as well. So with the Forms Manager, I think that's another great way of just putting up a form anywhere you can, so that we can get some more leads coming through. You don't need that help of a developer. You don't need anyone super technical to set up the form. You can make it yourself, as I did here. And then once you click on edit the website code, you can simply copy it. And as I mentioned, copy and paste that to your website. Now, lastly, one of the newer features that's in the system within the last release, it deals a lot with the filter list, and the filter list is where you can see kind of the overall view of every single filter set for every single buyer that's created in your system for each lead type. So I click on health, I see this is, there's 3 buyers that, there are 3 different filter sets total, 2 different buyers. From this tab now, rather than having to go directly into the accounts, you can activate and deactivate filters. You can sort to see, okay, who's paying the most money per lead, who has the most money in their account, show me only ones that are active. You can activate their account, activate their filter set. You can also edit their individual filter set right from the screen. So it's a little bit nicer setup, and that you're not having to click and go back and forth between 2 pages to see information. So a very common use case we see with the filter list, and it can be utilized when you're signing on these new lead sellers, these new affiliates. Let's say you launch a brand new affiliate and they're sending in, all these pings, and none of them are matching. So like, well, what do I do? How can I figure out why they're not matching? So the first thing I would usually do is come here. You can click the filter settings. You find their source and you click it here, and you click filter. And what this does, it's saying, okay, give me all the filter sets that take leads from this specific source. So when I click filter here and I see no matching records found, that's the obvious answer. Okay, why are no leads matching? Their source isn't opted in to any of the buyers. So same idea for any type of filter, though. Why is no lead matching? Okay, it's from California. Okay, give me all the filter sets that take leads from California. So that way I can pinpoint my searches, so I can find exactly who it should be matching to much quicker than having to click through. You'll notice also, after I filter by something, there's a new option here, bulk filter sets update. So instead of having to go into each individual account, each individual agent or client, and editing their filter, if you need to make a change for everyone, there is this bulk filter sets update that allows you to do that for whatever field you select, and then whatever partners you have filtered by. So right now there's nothing here, so it wouldn't update any of them. But if it's only showing 2 filters here, and I click bulk filter set update, I'm updating those 2 filters that are shown there. If I filter and it shows me 75 filters, I click bulk filter set update, it's going to bulk update those 75 filters. So just to kind of recap now, as I mentioned, we went through the limits, we went through the timed reports, very important parts of the system for handling the influx of data, new leads coming in, new sources, new buyers. Uh, for the new buyers, making sure those tickets are getting there as early as you can have them be, so we can try to make sure they're up and running and fully tested before going live on the first. Live transfers, Zapier for Facebook lead ads. Lastly, one of the things I want to cover here is the webhooks notifications. So lots of new great things we're launching here or have launched in the webhooks and notifications. So if you're unfamiliar with this, it's a section where you can send out automatic alerts or notifications or uh, posts out to a database even based on different events that happen in the system. When we say events, that means, someone, an affiliate submits a lead and it matches and sells to someone. You can have new lead matched be an event. So when a new lead comes in and matches, it then does this action of whatever is set here. So some options you have for that are, as I mentioned, an email. So you could say, this could be going to your sales reps. Hey, a new lead has come in and matched to one of your accounts that you handle. But most commonly, we see this for actually following up with the lead. So what we mean by this is when I click edit here, you can send an email to the lead as the option in the dropdown. And you can see here the body of the email of what you want to send, and you can put in magic strings to dynamically fill in that information. So in this example, we said, dear lead first name, you've been matched with the following partners below. And so this is kind of a way of, warming up the lead. They fill out your form, they click submit, they match with partner ABC, they get a nice email that says, dear John Doe, you've been matched with partner ABC. You can be expecting a call from them shortly. Here's their email, here's their website, here's their phone number, and all that's pulled dynamically from their partner account in the system. So, that's a nice added touch too for the leads that are coming through. We also have many other webhooks that can be set up, not only for that type of situation, but also for, system actions such as, someone reaches their lead limit. So we talked about that right at the beginning. You want to be checking those lead limits, making sure they are set to the appropriate values. You want to make sure you're not limiting them for what leads they can buy, or vice versa. You want to limit them so you're not overflowing them. So we do have a few different options for handling limits. So one of them, lead limit reached. We also have them broken down by daily, weekly, monthly, as I mentioned. We also have one that's 90%. So if they're set to 10 leads, once they get that ninth lead, they would get or you could set up this alert to go to whoever, could go to the buyer, could go to your sales reps, whoever's has that account, whoever manages your system, any or all the above. But this way you can just be on top of everything that's happening. So when they hit that 90% cap, you get an alert, say, hey, be on the lookout. This particular account is already at their 90% limit. If it's early in the day, you're going to want to increase that limit. So situations like this, you can utilize these webhooks to kind of just stay on top of things that are happening without having to manually click through or look through logs or click on individual accounts or run reports. It kind of does all this for you, and then this alerts you as to what happens. So new lead matches is a big one. Lead limits, account balance is probably the next biggest one. Obviously, you want to get paid for the leads you're selling. So if someone, makes a payment and their credit card fails, you can be alerted to let yourself know. They can be, you can add them to the webhook as well, so that they can be notified as well. So this way it keeps everyone in the loop. Lead decline, lead goes in manual review. These are other action items. So if a lead comes in and it's not selling, maybe it hit a bad words list, maybe it hit the DNC check, for whatever reason, the lead failed to then distribute, you can be notified in real time as soon as that happens. So you can go in there and check it out. As I mentioned here, low account balance is one of the big ones that will then go off of their settings they have under invoicing and billing. So this way it can be set up uniquely for each individual account. So for example, this particular buyer, I want them to get the notification when they only have $50 left in their account. But if I go to another one, I want it to send out when they have $500 left in their account. So you can do that individually for each different buyer, and then that way it's tied to that low account balance notification. So as I mentioned, there are all these different webhooks that can be done. You can see there's a great number of different ones. The new lead matched, new lead unmatched, new lead goes to manual review, new lead call center verification. These are generally then tied to the newest feature we have in the system, which is allowing custom deliveries to be assigned as webhooks. I'll show you what I mean by this. So if I click on new lead matched, when I do the notification type, there's email, which is what we looked at before. You type in, what you want the body to say, who to send it to, what it should say. We can do FTP, where we upload the file right to a server. But we also now have a function where you can choose custom delivery wizard, and then you can plug in the delivery ID from the custom delivery wizards page as the ID. So what happens then is when a new lead comes in and matches, it sends the lead out via whatever format the custom delivery is built. And how this can be utilized is if you have a dialer system or you have a external database that you want the lead data posted into in real time. So the lead comes through from your seller, it matches to buyer A, B, and C, it sells to them. After that's done, the system then takes all that information, posts it to this external database based upon this delivery. And that way it's, like a built-in background process that can be set up and tested right through the system. So lots of different options we have with this webhooks notifications. It's a very, very useful in all situations, not even just open enrollment, but especially for open enrollment, just because, as I mentioned, the sheer number of tasks that have to be done through the system, combined with the increase in workload that you get from more leads coming in, more buyers trying to sign. The system allow you to free up that time to do more tasks associated with that. So that is the main parts I wanted to cover today. I want to thank everyone for joining, and this is recorded, so we will be sending it out to any of the other attendees that were not able to make it. Thank you very much for attending, and have a great day.